Most honorable greetings to you, my fellow royal beings of planet Earth, of Tameri, Tamerikhan, Kairi, Alubera. Much gratitude, much honor, much love to every single one of you, of my fellow royal beings here on Mama Earth. All right, enough love, enough love, enough love. Okay, so last night I shared where I would be having a session pertaining to maxims of law, as well as natural law and statutory law, which is also civil law. All right, so first let us begin by overstanding, understanding, comprehending the rule which is the law. And I have some information that I have compiled, and here is where I would share with you, my fellow royal beings, so that we all are able to be aware, as well as to also know and have a bit of, knowledge being registered within us. All right, and the whole purpose of this is to also encourage the whole vibration, energy, vibration, frequency of transformation being that we are beings who have will to learn and to unlearn that which is no longer serving us any good. All right, so in this process of learning through enlightenment and inspiration, I will go right into it in this motion. All right, so a law is a proper and authentic rule. All right, a rule that describes, prohibits, or permits a certain act. Okay, so what is an act? All right, an act or action is the manifestation of the mind or will of a being or person expressed as an idea, cause, model, power, motion, effect, expression, or thing done. All right, so a law is a proper and authentic rule that describes or prohibits or even permits a certain act. Okay, and I have shared what an act or action is, right, with it being the manifestation of the mind or the will of a being, that we actually put into as the whole retrospect of utilizing our energy, and our energy then in turn has a vibration, and in this vibration there's a frequency that also creates a wave around us as electromagnetic beings. Okay, we are natural transmitters and also receptors. Transmitters in the form of giving out energy, as well as receptors being the receivers. Right, as creative divines, we often receive as mother. Okay, receiving as mother. Okay, so a proper and authentic rule is known as a maxim, being a norm or a bar or canon or axiom or measure or standard consistent with the present most sacred body of laws known as the divine collection of maxims of law. Okay, so this is what a rule is. The rule is a maxim. All right, the maxim is whatsoever is the norm or whatsoever is the measure of a standard and its consistent flow in the present. All right, in the sacred movement, as in what I would refer to as us being natural alchemists as well too, and that is the whole divine collection of maxims of law in the natural scope. Okay, so a valid maxim may be derived by instruction, by deduction, by discovery, by argument, custom, or consent. Okay, so it is always in a fluctuation of that motion of consistent flow. All right, so the highest law is a rule given by divine instruction, as nothing may contradict such a rule. Okay, so the highest law is a law that is the divine law given by divine instruction. So divine instruction refers to what is given to you and ordained through you with the from your higher state of consciousness, and that is the divine law, your higher state of consciousness. Hence, for me, even speaking in the retrospect pertaining to being sovereign, as well as the governor general, and as well as also referring to myself, because I know I am royal, Royalty is the frequency, the head of state of my consciousness, meaning royalty as in, you know, operating and flowing in a ratio where I mold and treat with care, nurturing, you know, more so than damaging and creating a mess of whatsoever I am passionate about. And passion here is passion for and to my fellow beings as well as myself. All right, so moving ahead, the second highest law is a proven deduction and discovery of universal and natural laws through reason and discernment of mind as a comprehensive and cohesive model, as the strongest models are consistent, useful, sensible, complete, and universally applicable. Okay, so that is the second highest form of law. You know, there's maxims as in the levels. There's divine, there's the universal and natural. Okay, where not all that is natural is what is very much completely universal. When I say universal, like universal, it applies to every single one of us in the natural order. Okay, so natural law being in the scope of natural government, natural intelligence, natural medicine, natural and so on. All right, natural government and so on. Okay, so the third highest law is the conclusion of an argument and debate between two or more minds, being an edict given by a great council of wise elders or jurists, as nothing absurd and without good reason may be considered law. All right, the fourth highest law is the law of the people, as the consent and will of the people is the source of the true authority, and without good reason may be considered true authority, my apologies, and sovereignty within any community or society. Okay, so the fourth highest law is the law of the people, us fellow royal beings here, and this is also in the retrospect and authority of our sovereignty, which refers to a rite of passage as the beings being the one governing or higher state of consciousness and not an entity that is external to us, more or less. And when I say this higher state of consciousness, it refers to the whole conscious awareness of not being the agent of provocation. When I say provocation, the agent of provocation where we in turn, you know, create something derogatory more so than uplift in a healing way. We create more traumas more so than we heal. All right, so the weakest rule is that of a tyrant, as any rule without authority or right of heaven, but merely by force, cannot be sustained, and the people shall eventually overcome and render such unjust rule and unjust laws as dust. Okay, so that is the weakest rule. The weakest rule is where, when I refer to tyrant, we're speaking on the whole retrospect of what is more or less in the scope of a colonization. All right, when I say colonization, is like an entity now foreign to you, more or less, is now imposing something to you, imposing something that is in a way or format where they dictate more or less, you know. And there have been fellow misclassification of it with beings who have assumed the jurisdiction of natural government and governance and being misclassified as tyrants. All right, and it's not the same scope. Okay, and as I said, with the heavens being our higher state of consciousness, wherever we are, heaven is, and it is just in that order of knowing. Okay, so as you now realize the maxims of law, where a maxim may be derived from an instruction, deduction, discovery, argument, custom, or consent, as well as the highest law is a rule given by divine instruction, as nothing may contradict such a rule. This divine instruction is true or coding an energy algorithm of what is in a healing retrospect, more or less in that scope. All right, as the healers to heal whatsoever is in the form of a trauma, and this is the highest level of law. After that is the natural law, the universal law that actually is able to create a synchronity of oneness. All right, so I will continue as we go. So now I have explained maxims of law. I hope that you understand what I have just